The mouse was mighty and mournfully intending to make major decisions while drinking mimosas at the Marriott in Minnesota. That was neat.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Cultural Disruption.
Welcome. I'm excited to be here. Are you excited to be here?
I am always excited to be here.
It's just constant.
It is always constant excitement.
My heart is constantly aflutter with excitement to be here.
Yeah. So we're going to talk to you guys today about some crazy ideas. In fact, we're going to present one idea. There is a really cool thing that Blake has presented at.
Yes, I have presented.
And I've presented at.
Yes.
Disrupt HR, SLC. Now, Disrupt HR is this really cool place where you get to go and you get 5 minutes to present some crazy idea. You get 15 slides in a PowerPoint that auto-rotate every 20 seconds.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
It's like the most stressful 5 minutes of your life because you're trying to stay on top, but it's super fun. Great experience.
So we're excited to share with you guys more of the details from that, but we only get 5 minutes. And today we really want to dissect what we talked about, and specifically we want to talk about how to have quarterly shareholder meetings, but not with who you think.
This is weird. It is weird. And a wonderful idea. So, you got to break it down. Let me ask you this, Jared.
Yeah.
Who is the most important shareholder in a business? There's someone who I would recommend is the most important shareholder.
You mean it's not the board?
It's not the board.
Consumer.
It's not the consumer. You'd think it was, but it's not. One of the things that gets me out of bed every single day is my spouse, my wife.
Krista.
I love her so much, and I want her to be happy, and I want everything to go well. And because of that, she is the most important shareholder. She's the most important stakeholder, if you will, in any business because I do everything for her.
Okay, so the number one reason people leave a job?
Bad boss.
Manager.
Yeah.
Number one reason people act on leaving is because they go home every day, tell their spouse, and their spouse finally says,
Just do it.
Quit. Just
Quit.
quit.
Just do
Go
it.
find something new, right?
Yeah.
So who really impacts your business the most? The spouse.
It's the spouse. Absolutely.
Okay, so publicly traded companies, you guys are asked to have quarterly investor meetings. You bring in all your shareholders, you give them a state of the company, how the financials are, how things are progressing. You do that with your board, you do that with your employees, but how often do we bring in the most important shareholder, the spouse?
The spouse. We never do.
We never do.
We never
like,
talk
when was the
about
last
that.
time your business, other than like a Christmas party, and even at that Christmas party, it's just like, thank you very much, it's nice to meet you. What's your name? Like,
they don't remember.
No.
It's funny because you think about how often do you come home from work and your spouse says, hey, tell me about your day. Tell me what's going on. Or if I'm stressed about something, she says, tell me what's going on.
Every single day.
Right? And so they want to know. They want to be part of it. But that's the person that least hears about what's going on other than from us. And we don't always have the best way of relaying the information.
Yeah. So here's our culture idea. Our culture idea is once a quarter, create a meeting where you bring in your employees' spouses and you talk to them specifically about the business. Now, you do this already if you're publicly traded, and you might even have like focus groups with your consumers where you bring them in and you say, hey, here's the product we're creating, the direction we want to take it. What do you think about that? So if we were to bring in spouses, what do you think a company should talk about?
I think there's a lot of things. Number one, like you've kind of already mentioned the state of the company, right?
Yeah.
Where's the company headed? What's the future for the company? Because that directly impacts their spouse, right? They want to know. How about the finances of the company?
Totally.
Where's the company sitting financially?
Now, like, I think there's a lot of spouses who every spouse has a different perspective, right? And so I think it's easy for a spouse to say, there's not a lot of companies that are growing at the same rate you're experiencing right now. And I know you're having some hard times with your manager, but this company is so stable. Or it's maybe good for the spouse to find out, like, wow, this company is super on the rocks, and who knows if they'll be around.
You need to start looking.
You need to start looking. I know you're happy, and I know you've been there for 20 years, but it's time for our family to have security somewhere else. So financials are important.
Yeah, if it was my situation, I would come home and my wife would have a manila folder full of places. Now, these places are hiring, and I've sent your resume to them. She wouldn't go that far, but she's very prepared.
That's great.
Wife,
Those manila folders are different. Okay, what else? So financials are good. State of the company is good.
What about changes internally? What about things that are actually taking place as far as management goes?
Ooh.
That would be really good for my wife to know, hey, you know what? Maybe there's opportunity for me to grow in the company. Obviously changes take place fairly frequently in business. And so it would be good for her to know, or him, depending on your situation, where the company's headed management wise.
What, like, benefits? What do you think? How would Krista respond if you found out there was a new benefit that was rolled out?
She has a better attention span than I do, so she would be able to know better what's actually taking place as far as my benefits go. Because I'm going to come home and I'm going to say, honey, look, we've got new benefits, and she'll say, what are they? And I will say, great question.
Okay, what if you show the spouse that you just care about them? So you do an activity or some kind of thing during this quarterly review where you bring them in, and it's like tailored to the spouses. So here's the idea that we have. Our idea is, what if before you have this quarterly meeting, there's going to be like a fun activity or something. What if beforehand you sent out a survey and you allowed the employee's spouse to decide what they get to do? So that way it's not the company saying what it is, it's not the employee, it's the spouses. And it's a way for the company to say to the spouse, thank you for what you're doing. We want to say thank you in the way that you will most appreciate it. And all of a sudden, they're feeling happy.
It creates buy-in, right? I mean, it creates buy-in in the sense that they know that my company doesn't care just about me. They care about my family as well, my spouse, and what's important to me, right? They typically know that that's what's important. So if a company can make that effort and make it a part of what we do, then that's going to be buy-in.
So last idea is breakout sessions. Bring everybody in, give them a state of the company, talk about financials, do something nice for them, and then have some breakout sessions. Now, this is going to make a lot of business owners cringe because they're going to be like, how am I going to have a breakout with my employee spouses, and how am I going to be prepared to tell them the things that they may not want to hear? But our argument is that could be extremely healthy for your business. It's going to put leadership in an interesting spot if you're not doing a good job. And if you are doing a good job, it'll be easy conversation.
Yeah. But imagine the ability to go in and ask the questions that are really on my mind. If my wife's company had a situation like that, and I want to know, hey, this isn't going super well for her. If I have the opportunity to go and say, listen, my wife might not ask this, but I'm going to because I'm concerned for her, right?
Yeah.
And yes, it might make the company cringe, but also change happens when there's a little bit of pressure, right? Diamonds are formed when there's pressure put onto them, and so it's the same things.
So we've already talked about how culture is leadership. Reason people are unsatisfied with their job is because of management. What if one of those breakout sessions was exclusively about your leadership philosophy? Yeah. Right? And once again, something that might make you cringe, because what if you're not executing on what you're saying you are? Well, that's the kind of pressure that you need to have some of the time that can be really healthy. And so go into a room and say, here's the way that we lead. We lead in this way, and we provide opportunities in this way. When we do a performance review, how often we do that, and here's the format and where we do it. We encourage your spouse to come in with their questions at that time. And now you can go back to your spouse and say, hey, your next review, I want you to bring this up.
Yeah. Super useful.
Very useful.
And I think that's the thing is, and one of the things that comes to my mind, right, because it is cringeworthy, right? It's one of those situations where I'm like, ugh, I feel uncomfortable having people ask me questions. But great leaders are able to take criticism.
Yeah.
And great leaders learn from those experiences. And so if I'm going to be a great leader, if I'm going to be in charge of a company, I have to have the ability to accept that.
Okay, so why is the other reason we go to work? We got to pay the
Pay the dollar bills.
Dollar bills, y'all. So imagine if one of these breakout sessions was exclusively by the HR department about the compensation analysis and strategy. Okay, so here's what the market is doing right now. This is how much the market is paying. This is what similar positions are doing. And you don't have to give exact numbers, but you could say like percentages. Like most raises are 3% right now. In the state of Utah, average raise is 3%. And so you could kind of explain that. You could explain what goes into determining somebody's increase in pay, when those opportunities come available. If there's a hiring freeze or a pay freeze or no bonuses because of financials, great time to say, here's what's happening, because we all go to work for the money. Yeah. And so if you can explain the reason you're coming up with the money for their spouse, then, man, that could get some buy-in, or it could potentially provide context that may make the spouse say you should leave. And turnover is healthy. Turnover is okay.
Yeah, it is. It's good to get new outside perspective.
Okay, so what's our takeaway?
Well, I'm going to have my wife involved more with everything I do, right? Because she is the most important part of my life, and I want to make sure that she knows what's going on. So it's a little radical, it's a little uncomfortable, but at the same time, you know, if you can get my spouse to buy into what we're doing, that creates better buy-in for me.
And then when you go home and say, Krista, I want to leave, she's going to say, no,
you're gonna
you
stay.
don't. Yeah.
She gets that going.
Get the snap?
Yep.
Does she snap a lot?
She's not good at snapping.
Or does she get the
I love you,
manila
honey,
folder
but
out?
you're not good at snapping. But she's good at doing this.
Don't forget to subscribe.